क्या आपको पता है कि जब j.k. रोलिंग ने हैरी पॉटर सीरीज की अपनी पहली बुक पब्लिश करानी चाहिए तो पब्लिशर्स ने उन्हें यह सलाह दी थी कि आप अपना पूरा नाम यानी कि जोएन रोलिंग लिखने की बजाय सिर्फ अपने इनिशियल्स यूज कीजिए, क्योंकि लोग फीमेल ऑथर्स को उतना सीरियसली नहीं लेते जितना कि वो मेल ऑथर्स को लेते हैं। हो सकता है कि उस समय ये बात सही भी रही हो, बट थैंकफुली आज के रीडर्स ऐसे नहीं हैं और इसीलिए आप सभी की ही रिक्वेस्ट पर मैं ये वीडियो लेकर हाजिर हूं। Hey you guys, welcome to Books Amaze. My name is Avni and today I have some very special book recommendations for you guys. Now the books that I'm going to mention can either have a female protagonist or it could have a very strong female character in the story that I really loved, or it could be a book written by a female, or it could be a memoir written by a female author that inspired me a lot. That's why it made it to this list. And I'll be mentioning books as per their difficulty level, starting from the easiest to read, so on and so forth. My very first recommendation is Matilda by Roald Dahl. This is a super fun book and it is very easy to read. This is about a little girl, Matilda, who is an avid reader. She is very good at her academics. She is very intelligent. But her stupid parents, who are very self-centered and narcissistic type of people, and her cruel principal, Miss Trunchbull, have made her life a living hell. But fortunately, she has a very sweet teacher, Miss Honey, who helps her a lot and who helps Matilda with all her gifts also. Oh yes, I forgot to mention that Matilda has superpowers. Sounds fun, right? Even though this is a one-time read, but still it's very funny, it's very light-hearted, it's good versus evil sort of a story, and it's very easy to read, so perfect for beginners. My next recommendation is Eat, Pray, Love, written by Elizabeth Gilbert. Now I read this book a couple of years ago when I didn't used to read that much, and I remember that I instantly fell in love with this book. It was my first book that I read by Elizabeth Gilbert, and after that I read Big Magic also, which is again a lovely read. So Eat, Pray, Love is basically the author's real life story when she was going through a midlife crisis and her personal and professional life were just going down the hill. So to recover from all of this, she took a radical step. She quit her job, she got rid of all her belongings, and she set on a year-long journey to 3 countries. Which are those 3 countries? Italy, India and Indonesia, where respectively she ate a lot, she prayed a lot and she fell in love. Hence the name Eat, Pray, Love. It's a whole journey of coming out of depression, making new friends, rediscovering oneself, seeking spiritual help, falling in love, but most of all, living life to the fullest. It involves lots of drama, but it's definitely fun to read. You'll feel like you're watching a movie. In fact, there is a movie that was adapted based out of this book, which was again called Eat, Pray, Love, in which Julia Roberts played the lead role. Don't watch that movie, it's a pathetic movie, but you can go for this book. It's an easy breezy ride in itself. Now my next recommendation is my favorite book of all time, which is The Diary of a Young Girl, written by Anne Frank. एन फ्रैंक की हालत भी कुछ कुछ हमारे जैसी थी, जो कि एक घर में कैद थी, लेकिन उसकी हालत एक्चुअली हमसे बहुत ज़्यादा वर्स थी, क्योंकि वो वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 का टाइम था, वो हॉलोकॉस्ट का टाइम था जब नाजी रूल कर रहे थे और वो लोग जूइश लोगों को पकड़ के कॉन्सेंट्रेशन कैंप्स में डाल रहे थे। तो एन फ्रैंक और उसका परिवार भी एक जूइश परिवार था, और जब ये सब शुरू हुआ तो उन्हें अपने एक ऑफिस के स्पेयर रूम में जाकर छुपना पड़ा, और वो पूरी फैमिली 2 साल के लिए वहां पर छुपे थे when they were finally discovered and sent to concentration camps. तो ये जो बुक है ये एक एक्चुअली डायरी है इस लड़की 13 साल की लड़की एन फ्रैंक की, जिसे ये डायरी उसके बर्थडे पर एज अ गिफ्ट मिलती है और वो उसमें लिखना शुरू करती है। तो उसमें वो लिखना शुरू करती है बिफोर दे वेंट इनटू हाइडिंग एंड ड्यूरिंग दैट फेज। तो इसमें बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, वो क्या सोच रही है उस जगह पे जहां वो छुपे हुए हैं, और बाहर सारा पूरा वॉर चल रहा है, व्हाट इज गोइंग ऑन इन हर माइंड, व्हाट आर हर ड्रीम्स, व्हाट आर हर एस्पिरेशंस, everything is jotted down in this diary. And later on this was discovered by her father and was published, and this book was a sensation. आप लोगों ने शायद वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 पे बेस्ड काफी सारी बुक्स पढ़ी होंगी, but this was one of the closest account that someone has written down, and which is not fictitious at all. So It's heart-wrenching, but the writing style is so beautiful considering that it is written by a 13-year-old girl, and it's just one of my favorites. You should definitely read this book once in your life. And since we're on the topic of war, my next recommendation is Persepolis written by Marjane Satrapi. ये एक ग्राफिक बुक है जो 2 पार्ट्स में अलग अलग भी अवेलेबल है, Persepolis 1 and Persepolis 2. The one that I read was a combined Persepolis, which is called the Complete Persepolis. This book depicts the Iran of 1979 to 1996, where the Islamic Revolution was taking place. And some sections of society were moving from being highly orthodox to being completely westernized and liberal in their approach, while the other half of the society remained the same, which gave rise to many unpleasant social and political situations. And in all of this, it affected the lives of the women the most. And this book is actually an autobiographical account of Marjane Satrapi's own life, where she grew up amidst all of this and how her life changed from her childhood to her growing years. And the beauty of this book is that in spite of it being written on such a gruesome and sad subject, such a sad background, the writing style of this book is very witty, it's full of sarcasm, and it's a very pleasant read. I was actually awestruck by this kind of writing style, that how can someone write in such a witty sense of humor when they are going through such a life. And I definitely gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, and it's a must read from my side, guys. My next recommendation is something which will make you cry a lot, but you will love the writing. It is Khaled Hosseini's 1000 Splendid Suns. I've read all the books written by Khaled Hosseini, but undoubtedly this one is my favorite. Not because it has female protagonists, but because I think this is the best literary work of Khaled Hosseini. Yes, I like this one more than The Kite Runner. So this is the story of 2 girls, Maryam and Leila, who were living in completely different circumstances, but they were brought together by war, which was going on in Afghanistan. So the book is divided actually into 4 parts, where the first part talks about Maryam's side of story, the second part talks about Leila's side of story. In the third part, both of their stories sort of merge together, and fourth part is the conclusion. It is a fictional story, but it could be relatable to the lives of many women who were going through war. And it is incredibly sad, it is incredibly emotional, but at the same time it's uplifting, memorable, and with oh so beautiful writing. But enough of sad books for now, let's move on to something fun. My next recommendation is How to Be a Boss by Lily Singh. Now Lily Singh is a very famous YouTuber who have almost close to 15 million subscribers on her YouTube channel. She is friends with Hollywood celebrities, she takes their interviews, she hangs out with them. Now she even have her own talk show channel. So she is this full-on rags to riches sort of a story, and she appears very confident on camera, but this was not the story from the start. In fact, she was battling with depression when she started her own YouTube channel. So in this memoir, she has talked about her whole journey, how she battled depression, how she made her YouTube channel this grand success that it is right now. And she has shared lots of valuable lessons. But the best part is that it is written in a very quirky and a very witty manner. I remember I read this book in a hardcover format, and it was a very colorful book. It had pictures of Lily, and it had lots of lessons, it had pictures of lots of celebrities. So it's all in all a self-help book, but it's written in a manner that you'll feel like you're talking to a friend, and one of your best friends is sharing their life's advice with you. So if you like to read self-help books, but you don't want them to be preachy at the same time, you should definitely go with this one. Talking about sharing some valuable advice, my next recommendation is I Have Never Been Unhappier by Shaheen Bhatt. Shaheen Bhatt is Mahesh Bhatt's daughter and Alia Bhatt's sister, and she was diagnosed with depression, with clinical depression at the age of 18, while living with it already for 5 years. She has very openly talked about her problems and her mental health issues in this book, and she has also talked about how she has constantly been compared to her successful sisters such as Alia Bhatt and Pooja Bhatt, and how she has constantly been seen as a non-achiever. It is a short, to-the-point read which most importantly breaks the stigma around mental health issues. And I think when more and more celebrities come out and talk about such issues, it encourages people to go and seek professional help and to openly talk about if they're facing these issues themselves. So if you're particularly looking for books related to mental health issues, you should definitely go read this one. Now let's move on to some mythology and historical fiction. My next recommendation is Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni's book, The Palace of Illusion, which is actually a retelling of the epic Mahabharata but from Draupadi's point of view. I've recently read this book and I fell in love with it. It starts with Draupadi's birth and it ends with her death, and this whole story, including the war, including the events before and after war, are all narrated by Panchali. And of course it's a grey character which is very beautifully written, but you will also sympathize with her. You will also feel like going into the book and telling her that don't do this, don't do that, you are doing a mistake. You'll also feel pity on her. You will also sort of sometimes like her. So it's a very beautifully written character, and not only her character, in fact all the females that were in this epic are all written with a very fresh and new perspective, which you will really like when you read this book. I'd also like to mention her another book, The Forest of Enchantments, which is the retelling of the epic Ramayana with the perspective of Sita. I have not read that book, but I have read some very amazing reviews for that one. So you can check out both of these books by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. My next recommendation is again a very sad book, which is called The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. But this is not based on any war. Instead, it is based on sort of an apocalypse. It is a dystopian novel. An attack has happened on the President of the United States and most of the congressmen are killed, and there is now this totalitarian government and a patriarchal society. लोगों से उनके basic rights छीन लिए गए हैं, खास करके women के. They are not allowed to read, they are not allowed to write, they are not allowed to handle their own money. In fact, they are not allowed to take control of their own reproduction. तो यहाँ ladies को handmaids की तरह यूज किया जाता है, जहाँ उन्हें कुछ commanders के लिए babies produce करने हैं, क्योंकि उनकी खुद की wives ये करने के लिए capable नहीं है. और यहाँ पर जो हमारी protagonist है उनका नाम है ऑफरेट, जो कि ये पूरी स्टोरी को ड्राइव करती है. ये बुक बहुत ज़्यादा चर्चा में रही है और इसे कई बार बैन भी किया गया है. इस पे बेस्ड मूवीज भी बनी है, टीवी सीरीज भी बनी है. इट्स अ बिट डिफिकल्ट टू रीड, क्योंकि जो डिस्टोपियन वर्ल्ड अब आ चुका है उसमें वो जिस तरह से बात करते हैं वो उतना नॉर्मल नहीं है. बट स्टिल, if you like to read dystopian novels, you'll really like this book. My next and last recommendation is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Now this is not a completely women-centric story. It's essentially a love story in itself. The love story of Elizabeth Bennet and William Darcy. But I loved the character portrayal of Elizabeth Bennet. She is very strong-headed. She says what she feels, yet she is very lovable character, and it's one of the very beautifully portrayed female characters of all time, especially in classic books. और इस पे बेस्ड अगेन बहुत सारी मूवीज, बहुत सारे प्ले एडेप्टेशंस, बहुत कुछ हो चुका है. और एलिजाबेथ बेनेट का कैरेक्टर जो है, इट्स वन ऑफ द मोस्ट lovable characters in the literary world. And I'd like to also mention 3 books which I have not read personally, that's why I don't have much to talk about them, but I have read very positive reviews about them. One is Educated by Tara Westover, second is Becoming by Michelle Obama, and third one is a classic again, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So these were my top 10 book recommendations for books that have strong female characters in them. If you have liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you also have some similar book recommendations, please mention them in the comment section below. I'd like to check all those books as well. And I'll see you soon with another video. Till then, take care of yourself and keep reading.